So when it comes to building a business, silence does do a lot of heavy lifting, right?
Yes, yeah.
And so does eye contact, and so do these we call them soft skills, but really human skills. When it comes to being able to create environments where we get the opportunity and we take that opportunity to listen, to be able to be that person who can sense something, but give people the time to come to their own conclusions, right? Can you talk about how you've developed some of those skills and some of the teachers and or resources that have helped you to develop that? Because I know there's a lot of leaders who right now they're working the hardest. They're saying the most, right? They're doing the most. It's always watch me jump through hoops and walk this trapeze. But the hardest workers are not the wealthiest people. Right? If that was true, I think country clubs would be full of moms and ditch diggers.
Yes.
They're not.
Teachers.
Teachers.
Yes.
For sure. So knowing that, what were some of those tools? What were some of those tools, teachers, and skills that you've learned to create those environments?
I mean, the work of Daniel Siegelman and emotional intelligence.
Oh yeah,
has been huge. Daniel Goleman, sorry.
Yep.
Siegelman is positive psychology. Sorry,
Yeah.
I think I confused those two there. But I think we love it. We teach a lot about it. But the self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills are the 5 components of emotional intelligence.
I'm going to ask you to go back and say those one more time because I was like, she's running off a list. I was still at the first one. So self-awareness.
Yep. Self-regulation.
Okay.
Motivation, intrinsic motivation, empathy, and social skills, how we connect. And what I love about emotional intelligence is that when you focus on self-awareness, it automatically grows your empathy.
Okay.
When you grow and you understand what motivates you truly, self-regulation grows.
Okay.
So to me, it was it's so nice because it's like a compounding effect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so, I'm wired a certain way. There's not a lot I can do to change that. But what's so great with emotional intelligence is I feel like we are co-creating with our own evolution.
Yeah.
Damn.
Somebody write that down as a chapter, as a title of a series of books.
It's so empowering.
Co-creating with our own evolution.
With our own evolution.
You'll find that on a short in 2 weeks from now.
But what we've learned in the last 30 years with brain science is we can manipulate our own evolution.
Yeah.
And how empowering is that?
That's so, yeah.
It's the most freeing information out there.
Yeah.
Is that if I don't like my situation, I can work on these tools and I can change, right? I mean, I don't know how much we can change our IQ. I think now there's coming out with things that we can actually, we were born with a certain set of skills and a certain set of wiring.
Yeah.
This is so freeing to know we actually can start creating different neural pathways in our brain that are easier to go to than the ones that we had developed over millions of years.
Yeah.
And how can we help be a part of really changing our brain chemistries to maybe shrink our amygdalas a little bit and grow the prefrontal cortex? I do think it's the key to our evolution.
Yeah, as far as to diminish the power of the limbic response, of that response of something happened, so I have to, right? And the one thing that I've been reading about and learning about is if I say that I have to, I might as well say that I'm not free to.
Right.
Right. And it's like because I've heard somebody recently call it a dashboard, right? Having that dashboard to change how I am in a circumstance, right? Whether it's through breathing, which nobody ever gets taught, right? How to properly breathe in order to achieve certain outcomes, in order to change emotional states.
It's fascinating.
It's crazy. Like, it's like
just the breath.
Because just by breathing, like literally, I didn't know how to breathe until I was probably 25 or 26. And then I was like, And everything, because up to that point, everything else felt like fate.
Right.
It felt like, well, that happened, so I'm supposed to feel this way. And when I feel this way, I'm mean and aggressive toward people who I love, and I create bad experiences all around me because I'm in a bad experience, and that's just the way it goes for them.
Yeah.
It was experience after experience after experience instead of autonomy, freedom, choice, deliberateness, right? Openness to new experiences and new perspectives that were possible.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I mean, again, this question is out there, but it's something I constantly wrestle with is like, where is that line between complacency and truly honoring who I am?
Okay.
You know, like, where is that? That's such a line that moves of like, how do I honor truly who I am and how I'm wired and think versus, is that just an excuse for complacency growth?
Yeah.
And I think that's such a good question for all of us to constantly wrestle with is, how do I be fully who I am and how I'm wired without giving up autonomy to change?
Yeah.
And not being complacent of, oh, it's just who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus, this is who I am. Like it's so subtle.
Well, it's taking our idea of this is who I am away from a snapshot in time, because none of us live snapshots. You know, if we're fortunate enough to live a long time, whether that be 30 years, 80 years, or 130 years, if we're fortunate enough to live for a long time, what we realize is that most people boil this stuff down to just these snapshots of, well, this is who I am. It's like, probably not, because when you said that was in the future from the past that you were talking about. So probably that could have been true, right? That could have been true in that moment. But who I am is a living, breathing process of growing and aging, because who I am is not separate from this. And I think in the culture that we have today, it's becoming more easy and more attractive and more rewarding for, biochemically, for us to work on building a persona rather than building an actual personality. Like focusing more on what we want other people to see, experience, feel, rather than focusing more on like, this is how I want to experience life, and this is the experience I want to create for others, right? Rather than, this is what I hope you see, and therefore assign me an experience or assign me some sort of competency because everything that's valuable about me can only be perceived through your eyes, right? And so how do you break that pattern for yourself? Like you said, you were careful about what you put in your head, and I was like, stop telling me what to do. Okay, this is my podcast. You don't get to tell it, because I noticed that about, like, I feel bad and I feel good based on those inputs and based on that novelty addiction, right? Rather than the persistence, it becomes this, what's new? Like, how do people break that? How have you broken that?
Oh, goodness.
Or how are you breaking that? I should.
I know. Again, I think I don't want to keep repeating, but I have to every day. What I try to do is stay really curious about going inward.
Okay.
And just stay really curious. And for me, 95% of the time, I don't like the voice that's going on in my head. And so I have to stop that. I have to kind of hack that, right? So for me in the mornings, it is key for me to get up and put someone I feel inspired by in my brain. And I have to move my body.
Yep.
And so, because I do think motion breaks down emotion. It metabolizes it. And and so as I'm metabolizing my emotion, for me, I'm wanting to fill my head with inspiration.
Yep.
So I'm replacing strong emotions with inspiration is what I try to do a lot of days. And so I encourage all people to do that, because I always want to live from an inspired place. And I'll be honest, how I wake up in the morning is not always inspired.
100%.
Right? And so it doesn't mean I have to, it's not about finding it out there. It's about being inspired out there to go inward inside, to lock in and to connect with my own inspiration and what motivates me and how do I want to show up today? Because I am a believer in it is in taking responsibility, the energy you bring to a room. It's our responsibility to take charge of that. And how do I want to, when my kids walk down the stairs, how do I want to show up? When I walk into that office, how do I want to show up? When I'm with my husband, how do I want to show up? When I'm with my community, what do they deserve of me? And by giving them my best, it actually is this beautiful cycle that fills me right back up. And so that's where that kind of abundance mentality comes from, is it never will end if we are connecting to that higher part of ourselves. But I can't get there on my own every day. And that's what's so cool about the world we live in, is the access we have. But you have to choose, because there is so much. There is so much that we can get distracted by or feel like is really important. That's just not. It's just not. It's all just a bunch of BS, you know?
It's tuning ourselves to be able to separate the signal from the noise. And being able to get that. And I think a lot of people who may hear, well, she's a co-founder of a major company that's disrupting the industry right now. She's working on bringing organizational health in a way that's disruptive to the way a good old boys system has been done in the past, where it's actually, we're going to look at people, we're going to see them, we're going to hear them, and we're going to use that to drive results in people based on who they are, not just how they're willing to perform. They may look at you and say, well, she must just wake up every single day with a rainbow over her bed, with somebody must be bringing her a plate of
bringing
food,
my coffee in
bringing
bed.
a coffee, and just
that'd be nice.
And just saying, Meredith, you are so awesome today.
I don't know that that's ever happened. I keep trying to get Brandon to give me a cup of coffee, but that's not happened yet. But
we'll find somebody. We'll find.
No, but I mean, it's true. I mean, I think it's so easy to think the person that you're watching or you're inspired by has it easy. I mean, the people I plug into, I think why I love them so much and plug into them is because they're so real. In honoring the ordinary of their life and the messiness and how hard it is. And so, I mean, that's what it does inspire me, is because of that, you still move forward. You still show up. You still, make the mistakes. You still try to lead with your heart, even though it's gotten hurt so many times. And so many times it's easier just to not.
For sure.
So many times I've had the conversation of, Meredith, why do we keep doing this? Because you kind of keep getting hurt. You're going to keep getting hurt. And that's where I think the magic is knowing you're going to get hurt. And you're going to get your heart broken, and you're going to make mistakes, and people are going to let you down. And we're going to do it anyway. We're going to keep showing up because people matter, and I want someone to do that for me because we all deserve it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a complicated, that's like the people in my life and people who I've really admired and respected. They said your life and your relationships are going to be like a messy garden. They're going to be incredibly productive. Each plant is going to feed off another. If somebody who doesn't know what they're looking at, they're going to be like, what happened to the rose? Right? Why aren't you in line? Right? Why aren't you, why this thing looks messy. Right? It's an issue, but, and it's productive, and it feeds on itself, and it grows itself. It creates a great culture in and around it. It's, that's powerful, and that's what for me gets me fired up, is when I see people, because I know they're real. No matter what that veneer is, whatever it is, it's like I know behind that is a person who has wants, needs, hopes, and desires that are just as real as mine. Just as real as mine, and they deserve the space to work that crap out.
That's right. We just need an environment to do it.
And I don't have. The good news is, while they work their crap out, they don't need to be around me. I can put distance. We have boundaries.
Boundaries. Right? I mean, I think the research shows the most empathetic humans in our world have the strongest boundaries. And I think a lot of times you would think the opposite. You would think the most empathetic, giving people are always saying yes. And actually, It's the complete opposite. It's
Yeah.
because their boundaries are so clear and so strong, they actually have more to give.
Yep. So I know there's people out there, because I at one point in my life was one of them, and I still work to not be that person, but they feel like that doormat. They're doing everything everybody's asking them to, but none of the things that they really want to. And they may be doing some of those things, but they're not doing it with any heart, because they're in that people pleasing state.
Yeah.
And they're a peacekeeper, not a peacemaker, right? They're in this spot where they're always trying to negotiate peace and trying to make things okay for people around, but things aren't okay in there.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person?
This hits real home there, Delaney.
I wasn't sure if you would be able to relate to that. I'm
an Enneagram 9. I don't know if you've done any around the work of the Enneagram, but like the peacemaker.
Yeah.
And so I'm always searching for peace. Like it's kind of it's what's driving me.
Yeah.
And then having to come to that realization that that's only going to be found within. Mm-hmm. It's only going to be found within, and how you have to be okay with who you are. Mm-hmm. And how you show up, because the world will beat you up and they will take a lot from you if you get whatever you want to give them.
Yep.
Right. And so, and I think that's just growth. I think it's maturity. I think it's giving too much away too many times and realizing that's not sustainable. And it leads me personally to a place of resentment that I don't like.
Oh yeah.
And so, and I'm like, finally, then you have to look at yourself and you're like, you're the one doing it.
Yeah.
It's you.
Yeah.
So you can be upset with them and what they're taking, but it's all goes back to you and the choices you're making and how much you are allowing and giving your power away to that person. So then it shifts right back to feeling very like, well, then now I'm empowered. If it's all about me, I can control that. I can change that. I can make different decisions. And that's been a hard walk for me personally, is how to do that. And I'm not saying I'm there. Some days I can, but I'm more aware.
Yeah.
I can catch myself doing it now way quicker than in the past. And I think that awareness, like going back to the emotional intelligence, then leads to the regulation.
That's right.
Then leads to having more of the motivation and being empathetic with myself I won't go months of feeling that way, but maybe I can stop it in days.
Yeah.
And so, but that's been a huge, I mean, still that is my growth is boundaries and understanding. And not just with my time, but just with my emotions, just with my heart, just with my energy of not giving that away. And letting people walk their walk.
That's right.
Letting people be in pain.
That's right.
Letting them do it and not trying to like hold on and go rescue or like, what can I do to help make your pain diminish? Right. But that's yours, and I can sit with you. I can honor your pain without it then causing my own pain.
That's right. My gift to you is my presence and your pain.
That's right.
But
you don't need my presence to turn into pain.
No.
Actually, it diminishes their pain.
Yeah.
Because now it's my pain. Well, now, that's not fair.
How'd you make it about you all of a sudden? Right? It's like, and we've all been in that place where it's like, I am so sorry. I can't believe this. It's just like, stop. For God's sake. This is my ish. I got to take care of this.
That's what people need is they need your presence. Not your pain.
Yeah. Hey, this is Brian Delaney with Unlock Potential. I want to invite you to join our Patreon, where we release to you exclusive content so that you can get to the next level of your life and have the tools necessary to build the life of your dreams, have the relationships that you desire, and truly be a part of a community of people who not only desire growth, but are making it happen now. We'll see you there.